All right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How y'all doing? This is Coach Eddie Hamilton, the Coaches Sanctuary. Um, Beautiful Thursday evening for those that live in our area. We've been getting a little rain here lately, and we are grateful for it to cool things down around here. So, um, wherever you're tuning in from, definitely excited for you to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so here we are again with another episode of the Coaches Sanctuary podcast with Coach Hamilton. Appreciate y'all coming in. So I know a couple people kind of coming in, so we're just grateful to have you. So we're going to jump right in. Today we are going to jump right in talking about developing your coaching staff philosophy. Your coaching staff philosophy. Last week we focused on the program's philosophy as a whole, but now we're going to be focused on how to get your program philosophy embedded in your coaching staff. Okay. So it's just going to share some outlines, share some things with you. And like I said, this is not an end all be all situation. This is just some things in my almost 2 decades of coaching experience to share some things that I suggest, things that's worked for me and and some things haven't worked. Some things you got to think about it. Man, we're not perfect. Some stuff is trial and error. You figure things out. There have been assistant coaches I've had in the past. We've had conversations up to this point. We go back and say, man, we wish we would have did this and wish we would have did that. So this is an evolving and fluid list of things to help to develop your coaching staff's philosophy, which goes right along with your philosophy as the head coach. One of the things that I believe wholeheartedly is that as a head coach, we have to make sure that our staff is on the same page with us and that our language is the same, that we're saying the same things when it comes down to the vision and the mission of the program. Okay, of course, we all have different teaching styles. We have different points of emphasis, which is what should be encouraged by a head coach because you want all of your coaching staff to have their own personalities and how they communicate with their players, the players on your teams. But ultimately, the ultimate message needs to come from the head coach's vision and mission for the team. Okay. So, like I said, so that's not taking away from the personalities and the input and the influence of your staff, but it has to come from the overall vision and mission of your program. So that was one of the things we said last week and even a couple of weeks ago, just making sure that you, as the head coach, you know exactly what kind of coach you are. You know exactly what it is you want people to understand when it comes down to the goals of your program, how you want your program to look, how you want your players and staff to be represented when you're on your campus and in your community. All right. So we're going to jump right in. Excited about another opportunity. And I'll say this to y'all, let me be straight up with y'all, man. I never in a million years thought that I would be doing anything like this. So this is loads of fun for me. I appreciate those that come in and share their time. Okay. So if you find this to be informative, feel free. We're on YouTube. We're in groups in Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're in Twitter. We're also on Instagram Live. And you want to make sure that if you can share this out, we greatly appreciate it to share it out. And like I said, I'm on a mission just to help to develop our coaches in our profession and what we do. Like I said, with now, being at this point in my life, almost 2 decades in, it's time to give back, so to speak. Okay. All right. So let's jump right in. What I'm going to do is before I jump right into what we need to for our staff philosophy, I want to go over because I never read our mission statement. I developed this mission statement a few years ago. I'll say back in around 2009, 2008, 2009, early in my career, and it's evolved over time. So I've pulled a little bit from here and there. Okay, so it definitely all didn't just come from my mind, but I pulled and then I just kind of tweaked, and that's what it's the same thing for you to do. So for us, mission statement when you hear a team coached by Coach Hamilton, mission statement is your school, so as a airline high school student, know that playing basketball is a blessing or privilege and not a right. Okay, so that's one thing that has to be understood that's in our mission statement. It's a blessing and a privilege, and it's not a right. Okay, as a student athlete, he or she prioritizes his beliefs, his family, his academics, athletics, and social life. Okay, he or she is fully aware and understands that he or she is responsible for their actions and realizes that life is made of opportunities to make right decisions and avoid wrong choices. He or she strives to be a leader. And if they are to follow, they are to follow people who have goals as high as themselves or even higher. Okay. So they embrace excellence and they strive to be a positive, enthusiastic overachiever in the pursuit of reaching his or her potential in all areas. Because I am focused on off the court success, but I also believe that equivocates to on the court success. Okay. He or she strives to be a teammate who believes in the philosophy of we first. Okay. He or she possesses the passion for competing and challenging themselves and their teammates to grow in all areas of their lives. Okay. So I know that's a lot there. Okay. But I just wanted to open up and just share. Of course, you can replay it and go back to catch all of that. Okay. But the emphasis is not just on playing the game, but everything that leads up to playing the game. All right. So that is our mission statement. So let's jump right into developing our staff's philosophy. Okay. So there are going to be 5 levels that we focus on here. We're going to start with the first one, and the first one is going to be knowledge. Okay. Knowledge is our first area that we want to focus on in developing our staff's philosophy. All right. So knowledge in what? Okay. Knowledge in what? So what we want to do is first we want to know the system inside and out. Okay, know the system inside and out. And so, like I said before, one of the biggest things when we talk about system, it's not just your X's and O's. Okay, that's understood. But when we say know the system inside and out, it's the how to, it's the why. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Okay, but we have to know the system, have knowledge of the system, how and why we're doing what we're doing. That every single thing that we do every day leads to how we want to perform on the court or on the field. Okay. So we want to be knowledgeable. All right. Next, under knowledge, you want to have answers ready on the spot. Okay. So now what I like is that when I know that I have a team that is serious or players, just players, individuals in the team, is when people start asking questions. When your student athletes start asking questions, okay, then you're talking about a total shift in your program attitude because that means they want to know. So that means your coaching staff as a whole. So head coaches, you got to make sure that we have opportunities with your coaching staff to make sure that they are ready to answer on the spot. Okay. Now watch this. This is also an answer. If you don't know, say, I don't know. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to be honest with your players. I said the other night in my quick live, love is honesty. Honesty is love. So that means an answer is if you don't have an answer, say, hey man, I really don't know. Let me ask coach, head coach, and I'll get back with you. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. You actually gain more respect and more trust from your players when you do that. Okay. So under knowledge again, the next thing we want to have is understand the how and why of the total system. Okay. Understand the how and why of your total system. So if you're going to be a pack line defensive team, right? This is coach talk now. Okay. Then we want to understand how we build the pieces to make that defense work. And then why we're choosing this defense for our team and why we're doing the things we're doing. Okay. So it can't just be go here, go there, be here, be there. It needs to be your coaches need to articulate we're doing this because of this. This is the end goal. We're trying to accomplish this when we run the pack line defense. We're trying to accomplish this when we run the 2-2-1 press. The reason why we're doing this is because the opponent has these style of players, and what we're trying to do is force them to do this. Okay, So if you notice, I'm not telling you all the details here, but I'm trying to paint the picture of between a head coach and his staff. The head coach has to make sure his staff understand how we're doing it, why we're doing it. And then the staff, you have to be students and be tutored under your head coach to understand the how and why. So now watch this. There's nothing wrong with you having your own style in how you get that message across. But it has to be consistent that you're knowledgeable of what the head coach desires to have. Okay. Because we're talking to the head coach and the assistant coaches. All right. So understand the how and why of your total system. Okay. And then you want to develop confidence in your players. Okay. So how do we do that, Coach Hamilton? How do I develop confidence in my players? Well, first off, you need to challenge them. Okay. You need to challenge them. And when you challenge them, expose their weaknesses. You got to expose them. They need to know the area that they're struggling in. Okay. But at the same time, when you're doing that, you also want to show them this is what you do well. Okay. So where you're in practice, you're definitely trying to develop what they don't do well. But what you want to do is to develop their confidence is also hype up what they do well. Okay. So you let them know, hey man, you got quick hands. I love how quick your hands are. But in order to use your quick hands, we got to make sure your feet are at this angle or you're forcing them in this direction. And this goes for football, this goes for basketball. I mean, if you're in baseball, different sports, you just want to make sure that you're developing their confidence in what they do well, along with when you're exposing their weakness, showing them, hey, I need you to do this better in order to highlight the strength that you have. Okay. I hope that's making sense to you. All right. So there, every player has a strength and they have a weakness. So in order to build their confidence, say, hey, we want to see you use your quick hands more, but we got to get your feet in this place in order to use your hands right. Okay. So I hope it's making sense to you. So our first thing in our staff philosophy is knowledge. Be knowledgeable. Okay. The next thing we have is being organized. Okay. So organization. So under organization, what you want to do is in your preparation, all right, you want to cover all fundamentals, and then you want to have a academic support system. Okay. So you want to be organized. Under organization, you have a system on how you prepare to cover fundamentals in the game, okay? The things you want to go over in practice. And then also you want to be prepared in how you're going to support your team academically, okay? So preparation, if you're going to be under organization, you got to have preparation, okay? How to cover all fundamentals of what you want to be done, what type of team you want to be, the style you want to play, cover all the fundamental. I'm a fundamentalist. I love getting down to the basis and the basics of things before I try to utilize their talent. When I see the talent that that player has, I want to make sure I'm giving them the basics and the fundamentals on how to highlight their talent. Okay, that's a part of my preparation. I'm thinking when I'm preparing, what do these guys do well on my team? And I want to make sure I give them all the fundamentals to highlight what it is they do well. Okay. And then also you want to have a system in place on how you want to support them academically. Okay. So now this is Coach Hamilton. This is me. If we say that we're trying to help players get to the next level, whether it's in life or whether it's in sports, academically they need to be supported. Okay. What do you mean? For me, a standard needs to be set first. Okay. There has to be a standard. So here in the state of Louisiana, we say 1.5 is good enough. Coach Hamilton says no. And my administration agrees because a 1.5 will not get any college athlete in school. Not going to happen. So how is it that that's okay for our state to say a 1.5 is good enough to participate? Okay. So that means if you have somebody there, for me, it is if you have a D in a class, so you don't have to be a straight A student. That's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm like, ooh, you got to have straight A's. That's not me. You can have all C's. If you're doing your best, all I know is that if you have a D, you will not play in the next game. That's how simple I make that. So I don't have all this stuff written out and got to do this, that, and the other. The bottom line is you have a D, no. Why? Why do I say that? because your academics, for me, off the court, shows me how much you care. Because you don't have to be a genius going to class every day. What makes students geniuses is just going to class and do what they're supposed to do. Now, furthermore, when you talk about academic support, now you have to understand what kind of team I have, and then how do I support them? Meaning, do I need to have study halls for my team? Because in some situations you do. Sometimes you need to see if you can have some volunteer students on your campus, or if there's a teacher or two that can help out for a few minutes after school or whatever your time frame is for tutoring, because sometimes that's a need. Okay. But if you don't have the time or the resources to do that, for me, during our practice time, man, if you need help, guess what? Man, we're gonna have to get you some help. You can go visit that teacher. Okay, whether it's during practice, whether it's after school, it's what you choose. Just have a system in place that you're prepared to academically support your student athletes. Okay, we do not want to enable our athletes. Okay, we do not want to remove obstacles from our athletes. I hope I'm being clear with that. Okay, we want to set standards and then teach them how to get to those standards. Okay, because you want them to ascend. You don't want to just take them where they are and keep them right there. Okay. Now, next on the organization for your program, okay, you want to know who your program is from top to bottom. Okay. And I think that's pretty self explanatory. From you as a head coach, like I said before, understanding who you are and what you represent. And you got to get that DNA extracted from you into your program, into your assistant coaches. So your assistant coaches and your staff understand what it takes to play for your program. Okay. And what it's going to take to perform at the highest level possible. All right. Next on the organization, also, we have personnel. Evaluate and develop for now and the next level. Okay. Let's hear it again with your personnel. Evaluate and develop for now and the next level. All right. So that means you have to have your system in place that's understood on what's expected every single day, on how you're going to evaluate your players. You tell them, this is what I'm looking for. I need to see this. I need to see this. This needs to happen. Okay, on a day-to-day basis. And when you let them know that, whether it's in written form, audio form, or just every single day, harping on the things that you want to have done, you got to have a system in place to evaluate and then also to develop. So if there are things that there are weaknesses that you want them to work on, I have to have a system in place to develop that. And it should be easy to see from a student athlete's first year to their last year with you. Okay. That you know that they've developed and they know that they've developed. Okay. From this point to the next. Okay. So, like I said, developing the staff needs to understand that. The staff needs to know how you want to evaluate. And then watch this, allow your staff to tell you what they are good at. What do they bring to the table when it comes to evaluation? So when you have your outline as a head coach, you want to listen to your assistants to see, what do you think? What do you suggest? What do you feel about this? And then strongly consider. Ultimately, you got to make the decision on how it's done, but you just want to make sure that your assistant coaches know that they have a voice, okay? And that you are listening to them, all right? Next on the organization is that public relations, all right? Always promote the school and the program, okay? You always want to do that in your organization. Have a set way. We do sponsorship banners in our gym. I think we're getting a Jumbotron this year. Okay, I think we have an online store that we do. And then also, like I said, having relationships with media outlets, okay, whoever it is, whoever your popular social media people are in your local areas, making sure you communicate. So have a system in place on how you want to communicate and promote your school and your program. Okay. All right. The third thing that we have that we want to be focused on is attitude. Okay. The coaching staff's philosophy, we need to know what the attitude of the program needs to be. Okay. We have to understand that, because what we want to do is we want to be devoted to having players and coaches that work for the program. Okay. We want to make sure that everybody is there. We have a we first attitude. Okay. A we first attitude. Everything that we do is for us. So our three pillars that we have at Airline, I'm from the 90s, so y'all don't laugh at me. Okay. But when I'm from the 90s, back when Master P and No Limit was popular. So they had TRU, trust, respect, and unit. Okay, said true to the game. All right, true to the game. That's ours. So that we tell our guys, our attitude for the program is every decision you make should be a decision that develops trust in your program. You got to think about that. Okay. The next one is every decision that you make, is it going to cause your teammates to respect you? And are you showing your teammates respect? Okay. And then lastly, you is unity. All right. Is this what I'm doing is showing that I'm on the same page with my team? Okay. Am I in a unified mindset on why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing? Okay. And this is what your assistant coaches should be doing for you as a head coach, making sure that the attitude of the program is going through and through with all the players on the team. And when you see and you recognize their character traits that goes outside the attitude of the program, your assistant coaches need to be able to point that thing out to you. Okay. And if they don't know how to do it, you teach them how you do it, because some things is just a second nature. And then some things need to be developed. Okay. So that third thing is attitude. Make sure the attitude of the program is understood by your assistant coaches, and then they know how to articulate that to the team. Okay. And you want to make sure that we're all devoted to the program. Next is to be enthusiastic. All right. Be excited for the opportunity to participate. So let's just go ahead and be honest. Me, y'all, I love my job. Love it. Grateful for it. But the bottom line is I wouldn't be showing up to it if I wasn't getting to practice every single day. That's the truth. That's what drives me. My enthusiasm for coaching my program is always on an all-time high. I don't care what's going on. I am so grateful because I did not deserve the opportunity that I got. So that means for me, with my players, getting them to understand none of us deserve the opportunity. It's a privilege. Okay? It's a privilege. It's a blessing to have an opportunity to play. It's not your right to be participating in after school activities. Okay? It is a privilege and it is a blessing. So that means if you have that attitude, that means that your enthusiasm is always, I don't care what's going on. You got to be looking forward to getting to practice every single day and being around your teammates. Okay? Because that's something that you choose to do in spite of how you feel, in spite of your mama made you mad, your girlfriend made you mad, the teacher made you mad, you stepped in the mud in your Air Force Ones and they got dirty, whatever. Okay. You got to make sure your enthusiasm is at an all time high. Okay. You don't need to wear your emotions on your sleeve when it comes down to things that are going on outside of what you got to get going that day. Okay. Now, let's do a sidebar. Now, coaches, we do know for our kids, we got to be able to discern if they're going through something or not. Okay. We got to pick up on that. All right. But that's a part of team attitude as well. If you're a player that shows up every single day with a great attitude and work ethic and you're having a down day, then there's a reason. And sometimes coaches, we got to pull them to the side. Okay. So make sure we know that. And that still falls under attitude. The next bullet point under attitude is be positive. Okay. Be positive. Be positive. Be positive. Okay. Which means overall, everything that we want to accomplish, we want to have a great attitude about that. Okay. We'll have positive energy. Negative comments and emotion get you nowhere. It gets you nowhere. Now, mind you, do we have moments? Yes. Sometimes will an argument break out? Yes. Sometimes two competitors will they get into it in practice because somebody missed a defensive assignment or there was a turnover that happened that shouldn't have happened. Yes. But what's positive is why are those things happening? Because the attitude of the program is we want to win at a high level. Y'all see that? So that doesn't mean positive attitudes, doesn't mean in your competitive nature, you're not going to have moments where there's going to be some frustration and where there's going to be times where people are disagreeing. When I tell my guys in practice, I said, on defense, you fuss at each other. You get on their butt about defense. That's a non-negotiable. I say on offense, you discuss. That's a discussion. Because on offense, guess what we're trying to do? We got to score. We got to get a good shot. So we don't have time for negative energy. You see what I'm saying? But on defensive end, yeah, I can get on you. You missed that rotation. All right. I need you on the help side. I need you in that passing lane. Okay. I need you making sure that you guarding that ball and nobody's turning that corner to get into the paint. Those things, yeah, that's a high level of accountability. But overall, the positive attitude is it's so we can win. That's the overall attitude right there. Okay. This is one of the things that I say. And if you're a person that's taking notes or you want to take away, this is what I say. If you have a bad attitude consistently, you have another agenda. That goes for the head coach. That goes for the assistant coaches. That goes for the players. That goes for the parents. It goes anybody that has anything to do with the program. If you have a negative attitude on a consistent basis, that means you have another agenda and it has nothing to do with us performing at a high level. You understand what I'm saying? So that means when you're communicating with your staff, okay, and we're talking about attitude here, if the attitude is consistently negative and it's always you're going against the grain, that's another agenda exposing itself. And you're not on the same page. Have me and staff members had discussions that was hot before? Yes, that does happen. But ultimately, it's because we're both competitors, or we're all competitors. But ultimately, though, the children need to know that the coaching staff's attitude is on the same page. Okay? No matter how competitive you are, they got to know that our attitude's on the same page. Not that you're trying to prove I know more than the head coach, or the head coach trying to prove I know more than the assistant coaches. No. Because the bottom line is a great head coach going to hire people that know more than him. Ask the major corporations and all these coaches around here with these big time coaching staffs. Okay? Got to make sure the attitude is right. Lastly, on the attitude, we want to be respectful. Okay? Respect authority, teammates, opponents, and yourself. Okay? Now that's a lot to cover, but the bottom line is that you don't want to do anything that makes your program look bad. Okay? You don't want to do that. You want to be respectful. You want to respect, for us, it's the A. It's the A that we wear on our chest. You want to respect that. You want to respect your family's name. Okay? Because that's more important than the school you go to. You want to make sure you're respecting those things. Okay? So those things follow under the attitude that your staff should have. Okay? As a head coach, the things you should talk about. Okay? All right. Next, and we're almost done here, is communication. Communication. All right. Communication. Now, under communication, what's very important, I love to have this conversation with my coaches when I do have coaching staffs. I say this: our terminology needs to be the same. So even though we all know basketball from where we come from, it's a universal language, but everybody has different ways of describing things on the floor. Okay, whether it's somewhere on the court, or whether it's how you want to play a ball screen, or whether it's how you play the pick and roll, or the flex screens, or the coverages you have on the football field, or terminology that you have playing baseball. Whatever the sport is that you have, there are terms that need to be understood. Okay, so from the head coach to the assistant coaches, I need to be able to articulate how I want to describe what it is we're doing out there on the court every day. And then from that point, assistant coaches, you need to make sure that you're asking your head coach. If we get to a point and there's a blurry area there, then just ask. If you didn't go over it in a meeting, then say, hey, coach, hey, how do you want us to do this? How do you want us to cover this? How would you like this to happen? And you can have those discussions in front of your teams, because guess what you're doing? You're teaching your teams how to communicate as well. Your teams need to know that the coaching staff has a way of communicating with each other. Okay, because these days, people are texting all the time and messaging all the time, and our kids have a hard time articulating themselves. But if the coaching staff has the same terminology and is consistent, now what you're doing is getting the players to understand how important it is for all of you to be saying the same things consistently. Okay, and that empowers you, and it gives you more trust, respect, and unity in your program. Okay, so it's very, very, very important. The next thing on the communication is listening. Listening. Coaches and players must listen to each other. Now, watch this, y'all. You think about this for a moment. Our kids today have been exposed to way more than what we've been exposed to. Those that's in my era. Okay. I'm in the 40 and up club. I'll be 42 November 11th. Proud of it. Thank God to be alive. But I'll tell y'all know we have got to take time to listen to our children today and our players. Because I'm telling you, if you give them the right and let them know when's the right time to share what they're thinking, okay, whether it's in the open in front of the team or if it's in private, they need to know that you're listening. Let me tell you how you let them know you're listening. Just simply repeat what they say in the conversation without me just trying to respond. When they're sharing something, I ask a question, just say, hey, did you say such and such and such and such? Okay, I hear you. Okay. And what you're doing is now at that time, they're like, man, coach really did. And then sometimes later on in the practice or another day later or something, you go back and you repeat something that they said or something that they brought up. What you're doing is now is you're causing everybody else to believe that they're really a part of what you're doing. Even though I'm still new in the situation that I'm in now, I'm starting year 3. When I was at Fountain Park, I was there for 6 years. My last, I'll say about the third, I'll say the fourth, fifth, and sixth year. I'll go there, fourth, fifth, and sixth year. By that time, the relationships with my players, it got to a point. There was sometimes even in games in our timeouts, I would ask them, what do you see? But guess what they would say? Exactly the things that the coaching staff has taught them. Why? Because our terminology is the same. It's consistent. It's in our organization. It's in our attitude. It's in the knowledge that we're sharing with them. You understand what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is, everybody, it's not about what the coaches know. It's about what the players know. So that's why the assistant coaches have to do everything in their power to make sure they understand what their head coach wants. Even if you disagree, the bottom line is, if your disagreement is louder than your agreement, then that right there causes losses right there. It does. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. I'm telling y'all. But what you don't want what they call chinks in the armor. You don't want cracks in the foundation. You don't want to have that. So it's very important, like I said, when you get to that point where your children know that you're listening to what they have to say, then I'm telling you, their impact on the floor. Because people ask me, how do you get your teams to play so hard? Because as tough as people think I am, I listen to my boys. We do communicate. We do. If I have to correct them, I correct them. If I have to apologize, I apologize. Contrary to popular belief, this loudmouth, big mouth, old joker on the sideline, run his mouth all the time. I do listen to my guys, and we do communicate. Now I have my stuff that I demand, but also have times I have to see what is going on and why something is not being effective in practice or in the game. Okay, so make sure we're listening. Very, very important. That falls under our fourth point of communication. Okay. Last under there, the same, I said it earlier, is respect in your communication. Develop mutual respect by being fair and honest. Now, one thing I said the other night was love is action word honesty. So that means if love is honesty, okay, action word, that means what I'm doing is our communication is going to be open, it's going to be clear. With me, there is never, ever, ever a time when you walk away from a conversation that I don't want you, because the teacher nature in me is I don't want you to walk away confused. Now, as far as with your feelings that go, the feelings are not what matters when it comes down to whatever information we're trying to get across. It has to be making sure that out of respect, be fair, be honest. Okay? Because sometimes people don't understand what fair means. They don't understand what that means. So watch this. This is what I always say. And some of my coach friends out here, I think y'all could agree with me. We all play favorites. We all do. Now, everybody plays favorites for different reasons. My reason is, or what I'm looking for, If you can do what I'm teaching, you my favorite. That's not based on talent. That right there is based on character. So what happens is I be fair according to your work ethic. I be honest with you according to your output. That's right there. That builds respect. Even if somebody's frustrated or upset about the truth that's being shared, that's still being fair and is being honest. And what that does is it builds respect. Now, when they decide to respect you, it can be now, 2 years from now, it could be 7 years from now when they're grown and they go back and like, man, I understand what coach was saying now. But the bottom line is I got to always make sure. This was told to me from an old coach. Can't remember which one told me this. But you got to make your decisions, coaches, okay? Assistant coaches who are supporting head coaches. Your decisions have to be made based on the future of the program. It has to. Because if you make decisions that are not fair and that are not honest, then you tear down the respect in your program, and that's the direction your program is going to go. That's where it's going to go. And you're going to find yourself underachieving with teams that might be loaded with talent. Okay. So make sure under communication, the terminology is the same. We're listening to each other and we're respecting each other. Okay. Our final bullet for the night is hard work. Okay. Hard work. And under hard work, when it comes down to a head coach communicating to his assistant coaches in the games, okay, maximum effort at all times. That's what dictates, okay, how you get an opportunity to compete in the games. Maximum effort at all times. And our assistant coaches, you got to understand from your head coach, however he wants that articulated. If you're on the sideline and you're on the bench, sometimes assistants, it's not your job to coach the game. Sometimes it's to coach that bench. And you want to make sure that everybody's giving their best effort on the court and off. Are you enthusiastic? Are you excited about everything that we do good on the floor? Are you engaged in the communication that's going on the floor? Okay. That's all maximum effort. Okay. You want to make sure that you're giving your best effort at those things because that it goes under the category of hard work. You can't fake that. That is a skill in itself. Okay. A person that gives maximum effort at all times, I guarantee you, every coach that's on this live, on this video, on this podcast, when you got somebody that's going to give you their best effort at all times, you will bust your behind them to find a way for that kid to play, unless they just absolute just can't play. Okay. All right. Next on the hard work is at practice. Practice like you're going to play and build habits. So our assistant coaches in support of the head coach, that's something that you take on in practice. Practice is your games. That's your time. Breakdown drills, skill work, all that time that you got to make sure that what you're doing is making sure that your players in your sections are practicing like they're going to play in the game and build those habits. This is what I always say when it comes down to the players. If you go half speed in practice, then what are you going to do in the game? When you try to go hard in the game, you can't do it. You can't do it. So you can't fake it. Also, when you think about just something like passing the ball, okay, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, if you're going half speed in the drills in practice, okay, and that's the speed that your teammates get used to you moving, well, then when you get in the game and you're going full speed and you get mad because you miss a pass or they overthrow you or underthrow you, well, you cheated every day in practice. You cheated. You didn't work hard. So assistant coaches, it's your job to make sure that the head coach does not have to worry about the effort of the players. That's something you take on your own personality while making sure that they're practicing hard at every. We don't care about mistakes in practice. We want you to mess up because if you're going full speed and you're making mistakes, then what are we doing now? We get a chance to correct you at the maximum pace that you can go. And now what happens is over time you improve because we know what your maximum effort is. Now we give you the details to make sure that you don't keep making the same mistakes. Okay. So hard work is something you cannot cheat that. You can't fake that. Okay. The next point under hard work with us building our staff philosophy is be at practice early. Okay. Assistant coaches, be at practice early. If you can beat the head coach there, I know some situations as us teaching school. Okay, we're in class, it's hard to be there, but get there as fast as you can. All right. And then also, if you're in a situation where you have time before practice, because some of us do practice during school, everybody's not afterwards. Okay. What you want to do is use that time. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. If you get there early and you got some players, say, hey man, if y'all get here 10 minutes before the bell, let's get dressed quick. Let's go over here and let's go over some shots. Let's go over some ball handling. Let's go over some reads. Let's go over this defensive rotation. Okay. Because those extra minutes start to add up over time. Okay. And so assistant coaches is on you to take that extra time with your players to make sure that the things the head coach want and you see players struggling with, say, hey man, come a few minutes before practice. I want to help you out. I want to help you get this. I want to help you get that. And then now you're really cultivating the attitude of the program. Okay. All right. Now following the hard work as well, and almost done in the off season, and we will have a segment on this later on. But off season coaches and players must improve. Okay. You must improve. And I won't go deep in that because we'll have a whole other segment on it later on. Okay. And then also following the hard work, you're scouting. Okay, scouting, thorough and organized in our preparation. So whatever it is that you do, okay, whatever it is you do that you have to do, make sure that you're thorough and organized in your preparation when it comes down to your scouting. Okay. So now, like I said, everybody scouts differently. Everybody has their own way of scouting. All right. So you do what works best for you and how you do that, and just make sure it's organized and it's prepared. I'm not going to tell what I do yet. All right. I might share it with y'all later on. Maybe. We'll see. So, anyway, just want to thank you all for being on. Thank you for sharing. Before I close out here, let me check and see if I missed anything in the chat here. All right. Marcus Johnson says, good stuff. Appreciate you, man. Marcus is my favorites. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. And so what we want to say is that if this is it's been good to you, please feel free to share it out. All right. So we just sharing nuggets. All right. Coach Trent, appreciate you coming on, man. You've been faithful lately. Great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, man, share with your colleagues and others. My old assistant coach and one of my best friends, Coach Marvin Davis up in Northwood. Appreciate you coming on, man. And like I said, what I want y'all to do is these nuggets. If you come back and listen to the replay, I know it's a lot of information. Eventually, what I'll do is have this stuff available later on. So, man, I tell y'all, man, let's have a great season. Let's go step by step. Don't skip the steps. Like I said, anybody want to do basketball talk, man? Hey, look, hit me up in my DM. We can talk a little bit. I'm on all platforms, like on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So definitely, most definitely, man, reach out to me. I'm willing to help anybody. Like I said, man, I'm not a guru. I'm not just the end all be all, but I've been in the game almost 20 years now, and I've been playing the game. Shoot, probably I think I played about 30 years of my life. So, so it's just one of those situations where, man, I'm privileged and honored to come on and share, and I hope the best for everybody. Like I said, unless you're playing against me, all right. But most definitely want to see everybody doing their best and building their programs. All right. So until then, man, you all take care of yourselves. You get some rest. All right. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your families. Spend time with your families on purpose. Be intentional. Don't spend more time with other folks' children. What do you do with your own? Okay. So make sure that you're spending time and being impactful in your household. All right. So I appreciate y'all. We're logging out. Y'all get some rest. Have a good night. The Coaches Sanctuary with Coach Eddie J. Hamilton.